Hi, gorgeous people. Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, I am going to share with you a few things about emotions. Why bypassing emotions is so harmful. What is the expansion that is possible behind that emotional processing, and I'm going to offer a few of my processes of how do I move through the negative intense emotions, and how to help yourself to find the ways into expansion through the emotion. So let me just begin, and if there are any questions that I am not answering in this video, then please leave them below and I will possibly make a part 2. So let's begin with this notion that right now in the current day and age, we are all kind of like really into manifestation and creation, like you're the creator of your reality. And we talk a lot about like negative vibes, bad vibes, and that like if I am supposed to be like creating my reality, that I should not really, get into any kind of negative emotions, and I want to separate myself from the people like that. I want to separate myself from feeling that way, etc., etc., etc. And I want to say, why is it actually harmful? We call it bypassing, obviously. We have spiritual bypassing, emotional bypassing. And so in this case, I'll be talking about emotional bypassing. So what happens is that emotions, they are by nature not negative or positive. Emotion is an energy in motion. It's moving through our body, and it's meant to move through chakras. What happens is that our mind is polarized, right? Our mind is, it has the right and the left, and everything is in 2 degrees. It's either negative or positive. So we tend to put things that don't feel good in the body into the negative container, and then things that feel good into the positive container. But what it leads to when it comes to emotions is that we in this way kind of suppress the movement, the natural movement of energy, by putting some sort of like negative stigma onto it, say anger or sadness or depression, and then we get stuck in it more than we actually wanted at the beginning. And then when we get stuck in the emotion, it goes into the subconscious. So usually, that we have some sort of some difficult emotions. All of us have some things that are easier to feel and some things that are more difficult to feel, and it usually comes from our upbringing and our early childhood experiences. So at that time we weren't allowed to feel particular way, or we weren't able to process the intensity of the feeling, so it kind of got stuck in the body, and it got stuck into our energy system. When we don't just allow the energy to move, it gets stuck into our energy system. And that aspect of ourselves becomes sort of like goes into the subconscious. It goes into operating our, behind the scenes, and we don't even realize that it does. That's why oftentimes we get to these places where like, I'm craving, say, more self-expression. I'm craving more creative flow. But at the same time, as I'm going into it, like there's something that blocks me from it. Even though I'm just all solely focused on this positive, creative flow, something kind of blocks me and I'm unable to move past it. And we don't understand what it is, where the roots are coming from, because it's such a blind spot for us, because we're not even allowing ourselves to feel that emotion to begin with. So when we don't allow the emotion to travel, it gets stuck in our energy system. Now, like I said earlier, when it happens in the childhood, not only that we now need to allow to feel the emotions as they just coming in, we also need to attend to the things that have been stuck in our system and that have been sort of, like I said, unconsciously for ourselves, kind of pushing us into particular behavior that maybe we actually feel is destructive for ourselves. So I like to say it, it's kind of like if there is a pile of something in you and you're just like, no, I'm also positive, I'm also like spiritual oriented, let me just focus on the high vibrations, this is not part of me, let me just like retrain my mind to always focus on the positive. Yes, there is value in it, and we definitely bring it into our work, but that pile of crap is still there, and we need to sort of like wash it off. More interestingly is that it's not just so negative, like there's something so like bad and stinky. At first it seems like there's something really stinking there, but really I always call it, it's like an aspect of ourselves that is crying for help. It's something that we have suppressed, like I said earlier, because of some conditioning, because we weren't able to have the tools and capacity to experience the intensity of it. So now there's this aspect of ourselves that is crying for help, and now we're saying, you're bad, you're feeling this anger, and so we're operating with this sort of guilt and this sort of manipulation and very old paradigm kind of tactics. Anytime you feel guilty, ashamed, or in fear, you kind of like in this like old paradigm feelings, and they are not wrong by themselves, but we shouldn't be using them to manipulate people, to like make them do something, etc., etc. We just need to learn how to work with that through ourselves, be aware when it's happening, and in a safe container. I always say in a safe container, not in a place where it's going to be destructive to other people. And life is not perfect, right? But that's kind of like the ideal, to allow ourselves to process, that emotion. So something I wanted to add to this is that aspect of ourselves that is crying for help not only just needs our attention and our love, right? Because now it's kind of like in the shadow, you're not supposed to feel this, like something is wrong with you. Like an example would be you feel angry, or you feel threatened by other people being angry. That means you probably have some suppressed anger, so that you need to learn how to feel it and need to learn how to process it. But what's behind it? There is a great gift. And that's why I say it's like a doorway to expansion, is because once we learn how to move the emotion, we connect to that aspect of ourselves that have been suppressed. And that aspect of ourselves is like the gold, it has a talent, it has something really, really valuable to offer to us and to our life purpose. That's why we haven't been able to move. That's why we have been feeling like we're getting stuck, because we are not fully walking on two legs. We're dropping some aspects of ourselves. So we need to bring things into peace, not to have the resistance and the sort of fight between different aspects of our being. One adult saying expansion, creation, quantum leaps, and another one is threatened and wants to just like do nothing, wants to just like stay in hiding and couldn't care less about any kind of like expansion, right? So we need to bring that back. We need to continuously kind of recreate the relationship to give the needs of that aspect, but we need to understand what that aspect is, right? But there is a beautiful kind of a valuable talent, a part of our soul path is dependent on that talent. So emotions are absolutely essential and a very spiritual, because they help us to kind of identify where we are out of alignment with our soul. Negative emotions, yes, they do usually show that there is some sort of story attached to the emotion that is not aligned with our soul, not aligned with love and light. But it's not enough to just try to reprogram, like I said, and start to focus on the positive story, because the emotion is still there. So we still need to clear the vessel. We still need to help that energy to disattach from our energy system and structure. So some of the ways how we move the emotion. Now, a lot of people like talk therapy, a lot of people like journaling. Yes, absolutely there's value in it, but emotion is energy in motion. It's in the body. We have to work with the body. We have to work with the body. Then we can add other things, talking, but the body. So anything that is kind of working with our subconscious, which is our body, is such a big part of it. Movement, specifically a little bit more vigorous, going on a long walk. Maybe when you feel like quite emotional, you feel like, okay, let me just go out and like take a walk. Go in and like bringing more energy into the body, more fire, because it helps to raise the energy, to kind of amplify it. And in this way, when it's amplified, we're able to see a little bit more of it, instead of when it's just kind of like so stuck, it's just so hard to see through it, right? So we need to allow to like move it at least a little bit. That's why any kind of vigorous movement helps. Shaking, kind of like massaging, jumping, going for a run, going for a walk, dancing, anything that anything that's helping you to kind of feel heat in your body. And you can add to that some music that helps to kind of activate that emotion that you're already feeling, so that you can feel more of it. Like I said, when we start feeling it, it's going to get to like a state where it feels like, oh my God, it's like taking over me, but it's not going to take you over completely. It's actually showing like a wave going up, meaning like it's a culmination. It's like release to the degree that you can release it at that time, and then it's going to go down. But when we don't attend to that emotion, it's subconsciously, like I said earlier, activating patterns of behavior that we then feel like, oh my God, like that's just so not me, etc. So another thing that we want to focus on is breathing. And in this case, again, something that activates the heat and activates the fire. So like fire breathing, this rapid exhalation through the nose, that kind of create more of the heat in your stomach, and looks something like, and we're contracting the belly, and then we're inhaling naturally, but all of the attention on the contraction. So we contract, and it's fast, and we should do it for at least 3 minutes, possibly with breaks if you need to have some breaks, because you may get dizzy at the beginning, but then returning to it. And of course, one of the most of my favorite tools is the sound, like a sound in an ooh, or whatever that kind of sound would become. And you can start with an om. It's not about singing, it's not about sounding beautiful, it's not about having a perfect pitch. Actually, when we're moving through that emotion, that is especially old emotion, from like that's already attached to our energy structure, that emotion can sound really ugly and nasty, and it's needed to be there, because that's how it's felt. We need to embody the emotion through our body, through our sound, and through kind of like our facial expressions, etc. So any kind of sound, and you can feel into what is the part of the body. And that's where I move into this kind of like process that I love to use, and I find like always effective every time I work with my clients. This is always what we go to. So first of all, you kind of like, you come down, right? You tune into the body. You notice what is the sensation, what's kind of calling your attention. Maybe there is like this heartbeat, pumping, or maybe there is this kind of like burning in the stomach, or maybe contraction of your lower belly. So you notice where it is in your body. So you notice where it is in your body, and all of that is linked to a particular emotion. So then you state what is the emotion, and then you state what is the feeling, like how does it, how does it feel, like is it feeling tingly, is it feeling hot, etc. And then it is also linked to a thought. Now you may not be able to right away to pick on the thought, but it is always linked to a thought, because thought is kind of like primary. What the thought that is then creating the emotion and then creating the sensation. So we need to identify this link between the three things: our body, our sensations, right, our feelings, and our thoughts. Once you're able to identify the thought, this is where you can start unpacking of who is the aspect, what do they need, how can I attend to them, how do they usually speak to me. So then eventually you kind of tend you create this relationship that you are knowing, like, oh, this is their language, this is how I can help them, and you can develop this deeper connection, and they can start showing up because they feel like they can trust you. Yes, we have these different aspects out in ourselves, and I call them like that. There's actual, like, different needs, and so they want to feel like they can be trusted. They want to feel like you can show up for them, and it's not just one time event that you're just curious today, but because you want to get rid of them, but it's actually you genuinely curious and you genuinely loving. So this is the process. And like I said, unpacking is something that it is really unique for every situation, and it's not something that I can really walk you through right now. It's something that I do very intensely in the client sessions. It's something that I'm inviting you to consider. If this is where you find in yourself, where you want to kind of like move through, then I do offer this 1 month container where we can actually unpack the emotion and see what are the aspects that are talking, how to collaborate with them, what are the talents behind them, what are you missing out on, who is crying for help, etc. So it's definitely valuable, and we can really do that in 1 month. Not in 1 month that you're completely like a different person, but in 1 month that you are actually having this new awareness and new relationship and new opportunities and new possibilities of actually how to work with this energy that at times feel completely overwhelming, where you feel completely stuck in your situation and unable to kind of okay, so my battery was getting low, but it's actually what I wanted to say. I think those are the most important things. Then of course you can go into journaling. You of course can go into, I call it like verbal vomit, like you can either do gibberish, or you can just like say words and maybe bring emotion into it. Yes, you can, but it shouldn't just be the only thing that you do when you work with emotions. Bring it into the body, embody the emotion. That's the way to work with that. So this is my kind of description to you. If I didn't answer some of the questions, some of the questions are still are kind of on the surface for you, then let me know, and put them in the comments once I post this video, and then I can possibly do a part 2. And I invite you to strongly consider, if this is something that resonates, if you're finding yourself in this position, then reach out to me. I have free discovery calls where we can kind of discuss how I can support you, and if I can support you, maybe I can direct you to better resources. And this is really, not something that we need to feel like we're stuck and we're unable to move. This is an absolute gift for us, and we should learn and know how to work with our emotions. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, Julie, this will be saved. Well, at least that's my attempt and intention. So I am sending you lots of blessings, lots of love, and stay in contact. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.